Hi guys, Tanya here, back with another speed build. Just before I get into that, I wanted to bounce some ideas off of you guys as my wonderful subscribers. One thing I wanted to do was something that had a little bit more interaction with you guys, and an idea I had was some kind of island design helper where you could either invite me to your island or send in some pictures of an area that you're struggling with or just want some other ideas on, and I could give you some thoughts and tips. But I say that also knowing that I'm far from an expert, and there's a lot of really talented creators out there, like some of those that I've toured. And luckily, some of those have become quite close friends, so I could also draw in their expertise and ideas. And if it was a visit, could also see if they could come visit with me. And together we'd give you some of our thoughts. So let me know what you think of that. Another idea I had was to do some kind of speed build challenge where you guys suggest areas that you'd want to see me build, like a library or a pool or whatever, and I could try to create that for you guys. So please comment down below what you think. Are you interested in either of these? And if so, what kind of ideas or themes you'd want to see happen. So yeah, with that, on to the speed build. So this is the world between the woods. Oh god. The woods between the worlds. And this is a really important area in the Magician's Nephew. And each pool is a portal to a different universe. So one links to the world where the White Witch is from, and one also goes to the world where Narnia, the beginning of Narnia. So yeah, so with that, here let's get building. Alright, so with almost everything, the first thing is terraforming. You'll see I laid down just some paths on the ground, and that was just to give myself like a marker. So I was looking at the map earlier and I kind of wanted to align myself with the map grid, because I've plotted out some of these areas roughly on an island planner, so I just wanted to make sure I was roughly along the same lines. I do that for big builds just because I don't want to run out of space or take up too much space that will take away from the other ideas I have going on. You don't have to do this. I just have a lot in my mind planned for my Narnia Island, so it's like space is very precious. So yeah, so with terraforming these pools, the main thing I had in my mind was I wanted curved edges as much as possible, because I think they just look much more natural. And B, I wanted them to be fairly irregular, so I didn't want all the pools to look the same shape, same size, same kind of like in a grid or anything. Like, I wanted to look very natural and spaced out. So if you're fairly new to terraforming, the trick with curved edges is it just happens between two straight points. So what I just did there, where I had two squares kind of diagonal from each other and then filled in the spot next to it, like in between it, then that will create a curved edge. I don't always get it right because sometimes I point my character in the wrong direction. But yeah, another way is you fill in a corner and then like terraform it again, and that will make it curved. Now that was a little mistake of mine. I didn't realize how close these spots were, and I couldn't actually create a gap between them, so I just wanted to modify this shape so that I could make it a little bit more smooth. Trying to decide what to do, I thought maybe like extending it might give me a bit more space to smooth out the edges. That's like, yeah, that's the main goal with all of this terraforming. So yeah, so ended up with a little infinity symbol by accident, but yeah, I thought that kind of worked. So that's what I mean about the terraforming curved edge trick. I find that I find that I don't always point my character quite right, so it doesn't always work out that way, but it gets better over time. So I'm not going to show me terraform every single pool here, just because I think it'll get pretty repetitive, but I just wanted to show you at least some of them. And then I mapped out some points where I wanted to put trees because I just wanted to make sure there was enough space around each spot. So yeah, so this is me jumping forward to having terraformed more plots, more pools. This is the last one in this segment. So yeah, so you'll see they're all fairly irregular. Hopefully none of them are exactly the same shape, and they're kind of plotted out in different parts. They're not like in a straight line or anything. And then I started terraforming some cliffs around. So I wanted this area to feel fairly hidden because this is a space that doesn't really exist in the world itself, in the world of Narnia or in the world of human, the human world. I didn't want it to be something you could just like easily stumble into. So so these cliffs kind of help create the illusion that it's like this hidden away magical space. Something I'll do later is also like make the route to this area like a little bit more like you have to journey towards it. So yeah, just skipping ahead because you don't need to see me like terraform every single cliff because it just like the whole thing was like an hour and 45 minutes. Anyways, I just added some water at the top here because I like to have water to have sources, and I wanted a river separating the woods between the world from the rest of the land. And that's what I was talking about earlier about like creating a sense of journey, so that you have to cross a bridge in order to get to the woods between the world, because it's not really part of our worlds per se. So yeah, so for that river I wanted to have a source of water, which is this pool up here, and then started going at the river. And with the river, again, I try to avoid like straight lines, so you'll see me adding in curved bits here and there. I wanted to create I wanted a diagonal bridge, and honestly I think that's the thing I find hardest to terraform, because it's so exact. Like you have to have 4 diagonal lines next to each other, 4 diagonal blocks, if you will, and that it be wide enough as well, so that yeah, it just takes a bit of planning. And then I decided to map out a couple more tree spots before I continue, just because I wanted enough space for those trees. I didn't used to do this, and I always ended up without enough space for all the trees. So, top tip, don't do what I keep doing. You want to do the bottom first and then the top, so that it ends up with a diagonal line. Otherwise you just keep recreating the same area over and over again. So I think that's roughly the right size, but I wanted to widen it just in case. And then I've got the little bridge here, and realized it wasn't quite long enough or wide enough, really. So yeah, so then plotted it down a little bit further, and then that yeah, I just thought it was kind of too close to the top edge. Like I wanted more of a curve to show up in the river. and that looks better to me. So so that was a yes with the bridge. Now with that done, I continued on the river to the right. What I want is for it to wrap around the entirety of this woods area, so it's going to curve around to the right and up to the top. And I like rivers to have different bends and flows, like a flow to it. So not in any kind of straight line. I think it looks more natural that way. Just keep terraforming. Again, mapping out a tree. You'll see how I handle those points later on. So down here I thought that was too wide in terms of the river, so just editing that a bit. Another thing is I don't quite like it when the river is too straight diagonally either. So I try to add different bends so that it's wider and thinner at different points. This is where I was planning out my diagonal bridge, so just sticking in lots of diagonal lines there as a guide. I honestly think I got better at terraforming just through this individual process. More exact. Thank you. Need to widen that. Ignore the stacks of wood. Because I tore down and am rebuilding my island, I just have so much stuff in my storage. All the things I used for decoration. So so I adjusted that pool because I wanted the river to be wider, or I think I needed it anyways for the bridge, and that would then cut into the pool space. Right, I was saying I've got too much stuff in my storage, so you see I just use the island as like a junk storage place, which obviously affects my rating, but I'm not too fussed about that at the moment. And then as I was saying before, I like to have sources of water. So again, had a kind of a mini source of water up here. I was trying to terraform the floor down below, but it must be too close to the cliff to be terraformed. So by accident, wipe that out. And then now to connect that mini source to the river. And you'll see that I've already built up cliffs on the right here, on the other side. And that's, I've got another plan for that area. So otherwise I would have shown you that bit of terraforming as well. And then I realized I had space for another pool, so just plotted that in. edges. Thought the shape was a bit funny, so just added a bit more regularity. And that's the main bit of terraforming. And then wanted to build up the cliffs even further. Again, like as I was saying, I want it to be almost entirely hidden until you come up close. And then next day, so the other bridge is built, so I can get another bridge marker. I realized that the river wasn't quite wide enough, so added a little bit more water, and then we're in business. And then gotta pay our man. It's funny because there's a Lloyd's Bank here, so maybe that's what his name refers to. Anyways, so with all the main terraforming done, I could start decorating. So I started with a couple of flowers. I wanted, like my previous island, I had a pretty strict color palette of mostly just white, pink, purple, and blue flowers. But I wanted it to be a bit more varied in this island, and especially in this area, giving more of a wildflower feel. And then on the rocks, I wasn't quite sure what to do with it, but I wanted it to feel natural as well. And so I got a bunch of plants and different bits of greenery and some butterfly bug models, things like that, just to make it feel a bit more alive and kind of in tune with the rest of the area. I wish I could plant a tree, but just obviously that's not gonna happen. So just have these little plants in its place. And then yeah, some green leaf piles just for some more green. And tying in the two areas together. So yeah, as I was saying, just adding some flowers around. It's very unusual for me to decorate with orange and yellow, so this was a change for me. For some reason, I couldn't dig from that side. And then I need a new shovel. Decided, yeah, the yellow and orange were too close to each other. And that yellow and pink, purple are like nice contrasting colors. Yeah, just planting those about. I didn't want this area to get too overgrown with flowers because the main star are the pools, not the flowers. So you'll see they're quite sparse from each other. And then like I think I can't concentrate on one thing at a time, it seems. So I decided to focus to build up this cliff as well. There's Coco. Anyways, won't show you the whole thing, it's just building more cliffs. And then came back with trees and some more flowers. So really I should have started with the trees, with terraforming, with decorating anyways. So you'll see, because I marked out those spots with the trees, when you use little trees, they show up, the ground color shows up. So I just had to remove that before planting the tree again. And with these little baby trees, to keep them that size, you just plant some fruit behind it and then it will stay that size forever. But with the big trees, I don't always think to remove the pathing beneath. I kind of regret that now because it'll show up on the map as a little dot. It's not a big deal, but just people might get a bit confused when they see it. So trying to think of what tree I want there. I thought to plant one because I wanted one of a specific size in a hardwood tree style. And then adding some flowers. And then again at removing the pathing so that I can plant a little tree. I like having the little trees closer to the center where I want to be able to see behind it because it just doesn't crowd up the space. I also think like a mix of the baby and bigger trees just creates nice depth. And another thing I kind of wanted the illusion of was like that the woods was kind of bigger and bushier out to the edges. So like the middle is light on on trees, and they're also smaller trees, whereas they get bigger and bigger the further from the middle they go. I was really disappointed that I couldn't plant the tree here. I was really hoping to, but I guess it's too close to the bridge, so I just had to fill in this this pool over here just to have the space for a tree. I think they're just such funny little sizes, guys. Yeah, and then planting each behind. And then another tree. So yeah, so we're further out to the edges, which is why I have a bigger tree over there now. Yeah, so I mean this paddling trick, like as you can see, it's like extra work. So I don't necessarily recommend it unless you do have a habit of forgetting to make space for the trees. It's just a guide for myself. And one more. So yeah, so looking a little bit more woodsy now. I don't know why I thought that spot would be fine. Wishful thinking. Then decided I wanted a pre-made tree there. I don't know why I didn't do that from the beginning. And then that's a large young tree. I really like the size of those. And then I like to have things hiding those little saplings, just so it doesn't, yeah, I think it looks cleaner without. So I was gonna plant that flower, but then I think I changed that up for a bush instead later on. So yeah, laying out some more flowers around, and then went back to get more flowers and some bushes. Just filling up the space. As you see, I have a whole range of different flower colors, but still pretty heavy on the white, on the neutrals. I think it just helps ground the colors and help them make sense together a little bit more. Just because I'm not, like, my island's not a very bright, like, lots of color kind of place, so it's more like pops of color here and there, in a way that hopefully feels fairly natural. And then a lot of bushes. I chose to have mostly the bushes that were off season, just so like the color doesn't clash with the rest of the plants. Oh, and then I realized I had two lily of the valleys really close to each other, so just dug that one up. And adding in some bushes. branches. See, I jump from area to area quite a lot. It's just to create like a flow. Yeah. And I just wanted one more flower. It's not a very efficient way to dig them up. Yeah, that was an accident. I didn't mean to dig up the tree. Just it happened. And when they're little, you can just dig them up so easily. So yeah, so then started placing some objects. I was playing around with this butterfly, but then realized you couldn't walk past it. And I still wanted like 80% mobility around this area. Like I don't want to block off paths so you can't see the rest of the woods. So I had to be pretty careful about where I placed items. And decided for that reason to put the butterfly pretty far out. I wanted to add a bunch of hyacinth lamps so that there would be some light at night, but they still feel pretty natural, like they still kind of look like flowers. I don't have any mush lamps here because I think mushrooms don't really make sense in this area, but that would be the other natural light source that I could choose. And then decorating this other rock in a similar but not the same way as the last one. I added a little duck just for some life and various greenery. And then moving ahead, I lost the footage for the bit in the middle, but basically I just I added custom designs on the ground and then dropped a ton of flowers just to add extra dimension and items that you could walk over. Now, dropped items do affect your rating, but I'm not too fussed about that now. I once had a 5-star island and it just it doesn't actually mean that much. So yeah, and I also laid down a ton of transparent paths because I didn't want the flowers to get too overgrown. Now I'm building up the cliffs behind, like in front of the woods, just partly again to keep hiding this area, and then also as a bit of a viewing point as well. So yeah, as always, I won't show you the whole building process, but just a flavor of how I go about it. And then I then wanted to build up the second level, so I'll just show you some of that as well. I find it much harder cliff building on the second level because there's just so many more restrictions in terms of where you can place things and like also getting around. But you get there eventually. So yeah, just with that, I'll then zoom forward again. This took a while. I realized that I didn't like that kind of triangle shape almost at the top, so I built out the bottom a bit more so that I could have more cliff up here and still have space for a tree. That's a little mistake. Yeah, there we are. That's also so I can get a tree up there as well. just rounding out that space. And then I built out that space a little bit more because I wanted, again, another water source moment. So I wanted a little bit of water, a little river running down from this area. You'll see later on why that is. Like, it's another thing that will separate out the human world from Narnia. So just thought it'd be nice to have a little waterfall that connects this big river down there with one later on. And then just filling in this river a little bit more. Now I realized too late that I really should have removed this pathing before, because any little squares I had left in the river would have the pathing on it, and I'd have to go and fix that later on, but I was just feeling a bit lazy about that. And with that pretty much done, let's show you the final result. And so next day, here's the final result. I decorated up the cliff at top, and you'll see over here I have a little wooded bit with different flowers. I dropped some bamboo shoots and another butterfly model. Over here I added some weeds and different flowers, dropping a lot of flowers on the ground. I love how there are real butterflies hanging around because they must be attracted by flowers and stuff like that. And yeah, I think it's like got a lot of life, but it's also quite quiet. Like in the story, this is actually a very, very quiet wood. There's not like any life there. There's not any animals or insects and things like that. So I've taken some liberties with the story, but just I think areas feel a bit dead otherwise. And yeah, so just giving you a couple of still shots of it. I then, after editing this video, I realized there were like a couple of spots that looked a bit sparse, so I dropped some pine cones there and some more flowers, but overall the feeling is still pretty much the same. And then I'll show you what it looks like up above. Above I just decorated with white flowers because I wanted it to feel different from the woods itself. And then I added a couple of seating areas that, you know, people could come and take a seat and just like look, because this is probably the biggest viewing point I have, or nicest like aesthetic area I have so far. I hope you enjoyed this little mini speed build. If you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll come back with another speed build. Thanks guys, bye.